Hello everyone and welcome to this tutorial about Nostr on the web. Today we're going to go through the core Nostr features with as little code as possible. We're going to start off with generating some keys, and then we're going to connect to a relay. We're going to go through how to publish an event, and then how to retrieve that event. And then finally we're also going to go through how you can subscribe to feeds so you can create, for instance, a global feed. Alright, let's get into it. So here we are in Visual Studio Code, and what I have here is just an empty React project where I just removed all the unnecessary code. So if you go into the browser right now, this is all that you would see. The only package that we need to install for this tutorial is called nostr-tools. This is a JavaScript library that contains pretty much everything you need to develop your Nostr client. So let's head back into VS Studio Code and install this package. So we type npm install nostr-tools. Just let that load up, and then we can go into the top and import it. And the first function we're going to start with is generate a private key. So we can just import that. And let's generate a key when we start up with just creating a state, because we're going to use it in several different functions later. So let's call this sk for secret key, and then set sk, which is equal to useState from React, so we import that too. And then we just call the function here. So generate private key, and it's just an empty function, doesn't take anything. Just like that. And let's print it out down here. So let's say private key is equal to curly braces and our secret key. So if we save this and run our app again, we should see our private key. So it's gonna let it load, and here we are. So this is an auto-generated key, and this is of course the private key, which shouldn't share with anyone, but since it's just a tutorial, doesn't really matter. Alright, let's head back into Studio Code and see if we can create a public key as well. And that's called the get public key from nostr-tools again. And let's do it the same way, create a state for that so we can use it later. We can call this pk for public key, and then set public key equal to useState. And then here we call the get public key function, and this will have our secret key as an input. So we generate the public key from our secret key. And let's just take this same paragraph, just call it public key instead. Public key, and change this to our pk. We save that, head back into browser, and now we see both of our keys. Let's connect to a relay next. For this we'll use the relay init function from nostr-tools again. And this is an asynchronous call, so we need to create an asynchronous function for this. So let's call it connect relay, which is going to be async, doesn't have to take any arguments, just like that. And in here we create a new constant which we can call a relay, and in here we call our relay init function from nostr-tools, and here we specify which relay we would like to connect to. So here you can really choose anyone. I'm just gonna go for Damus, which I know works at the time at least. So relay.damus.io. Alright, and then we're just gonna await for this relay to connect. Just like that. And then we can say that on connect, just like that, we would like to do something, and that would be to maybe just set a state so we can use this relay later. So let's create a state for that. We can call it relay set relay, and that is equal to useState, and then we can just have a null in the initial value. Oh, and here we also have an error. It should be camel case. Okay, so if we connect to our relay, everything goes well, then we like to set our relay to this relay. All right. But if it doesn't go all right, we'll just console log something. So if we get an error, then we'll just console log fail to connect or something like that. All right. Now we just need to call this function somewhere, and I think it makes a lot of sense to do that on startup of the app. So let's put this inside a useEffect hook. We call useEffect from React. Make sure to import that as well. And here we can just do like this. Make sure that the function is in here. And then below our connect relay function, we just call connect relay. So this basically means that we'll run this code once on every app startup. So that means we should have connected to our relay once we load our app. But let's also print the status down here so we see something in the UI. Let's check if we have some value in relay. And if we do, then we'll create a paragraph saying that we are connected to relay.url. And then if we're not connected, it should be outside of this, we'll create another paragraph saying could not connect to relay. All right, let's save this and see if it works. Head back into the browser, and here we see that we're connected to our relay. All right, looks good. Now that we have connected to a relay, let's try to publish an event. So first off, let's go below our useEffect hook. We can also clean this up a little bit. And here, let's create a new event. So we can make this a variable, call it event. And in here, we'll create an JSON object with some different fields. The first one is which kind it is. So if you want to read up on the different fields that are needed for an event, just go and read up on the NIP01. But we're going to create a post, which is of kind 1. And then we need to specify which public key is creating this post. And that's our public key, which we set up here. And then when the post is created, and this should be in seconds since 1970. So we can use the date.now function and then divide that with 1000 because this gives the date in milliseconds. All right, let's see, it shouldn't be equal to like that. And after that, we have to specify the tags. And this is where you specify if this is a reply to someone or a mention or something like that. We just leave that empty for this case. And then finally, we specify the content of this post. Let's just say we are testing Nostr in React. All right. So that's the event. We need to specify 2 more fields, which is the ID of the event and also the signature of the event. And for this, we need to use 2 functions from nostr-tools. So let's begin with the event ID. Here we use the function getEventHash from nostr-tools, so import that. And this just takes the event that we just created. And then we create the signature It's called event.sig. And here we use the function sign event, also from nostr-tools. So import that as well. And this takes the event and also our secret key. All right. So now our event should have 7 fields, which is all that we need. But we also need to create a function to publish the event. Now we just created it. So let's do that. Let's create a function that we call publish event. This doesn't have to be asynchronous, but it do need to take an event. And in here we can create a constant that we call pub, where we call our relay and the publish variable in there. And just give that our event that we want to publish. So that's basically all you need to do, but now we need to check if this is okay or if it fails. So then we can call pub on okay. So everything went as we expected. Then we would like to do something. And let's create a new state here so we can put something in our UI. So we can create a new state that we call pub status, maybe. Pub status, set pub status. View state, and we can just have an empty string as the initial value. So if everything is all right, then we can just set our pub status to maybe our event is published or something like that. Oh no, I went on the wrong line. Sorry. We can copy this and put it in here. All right. But then if we instead get something else, that there's an error. So pub on fail, I think it is. Here we can also accept a reason. And we can set pub status to fail to publish message. And if we would also like to get the reason out here, we have to do the backticks. So we can put an variable in here as well. And no, that's not it. We can put in our reason right here, and then we just close it off with another backtick. All right, that looks good. The final thing we need to do is just call this function somewhere. To do that, let's create a button down here. So we can just say button and publish event, and then say on click we would like to call publish event. And not like that actually. We want to make sure that we call the function and not just point to the function. So do like this, publish event, and we also want to send in the event that we have. All right, this should do the trick. And maybe we also like to put a paragraph in here where we just say which status we have. And in curly braces, yes, pub status. All right, let's save this. Go back into the browser, and now we see that we have our new button here and our publish status. And if we press our publish event, we see that our event is published. So it seems to go the way that we wanted it to. Okay, the next thing we'll do is to subscribe to an event. So below our publish event function, we'll create a new function called get event. And this will be an asynchronous function that doesn't take any arguments. And in here we'll create a new variable that we can call sub, where we call our relay.sub, and we'll give this sub a filter. So here you specify which posts you're interested in subscribing to. And there's some different kind of things you can add to this filter. One of the fields is which kinds you're interested of. And we just created a post, which is of kind 1, and that's the one we want to get. And then you can also specify the offers you're interested in. And this takes a list of public keys, and we're just interested in our own post, so our own public key. So this should give us all the posts of kinds 1 that we are created with this public key, which is just the one post that we created before. All right, so once we have created that, we'll say that once there is an event, then we would like to do something. And in this case, we would like to set a state so we can access it in our UI. So let's create a new state. We can call it just event, and we can call it set event, which is equal to useState, and in the beginning we can just have null. I already specified an event. Okay, a new event then, or something like that. Let's set new event. All right. And in here, once we get an event, we have set this new event equals to the event we get right here. All right. Now we just need somewhere to call this. So let's create a new button so we can copy the one we had before down here, and instead of publish event, we'll call it get event, and it doesn't take any arguments, so we can remove that. We can call it subscribe event, and then we also need a paragraph to show something. And here we have maybe subscribe event content, maybe. I can add one here as well. And here we say our new event dot content. So that's just the content field is just one of the fields. If we go up to our event again, so the content field is the text we added. We also get all this back, of course, but we're just interested in content for now. Right, we save this, go back into the browser, and we have an error. Let's inspect. Oh yeah, can't read null. As expected, don't worry. We just need to do a check here, just like we did before. So we just say if new event has a value, then we'd like to do this, and otherwise we'll just say no new event. And then we close that curly bracket up. Okay, head back into the browser, and that's much better. Okay, so we begin with publishing an event. Our event is published, and now once we hit the subscribe event, we should get the content of it back. All right, looking good. The final thing I want to show you guys is how you can load a global feed. To do that, we'll create a new function. So let's go in below the get event function. We can call this get events. This will also be an asynchronous function that doesn't take any arguments. And in here, all we need to do is just to create a new variable. We can call it events. And then we just await relay.list this time. So what this does is just regenerate a list of posts based on your filters once, instead of in the sub where you listen to messages continuously. This also takes a filter, and this time the only thing we would like to filter is which kinds of posts. So once again, we're interested in the posts, which is number 1, but we don't specify any offers, which means we'll get all the posts from all the offers out there, which in practice is a global feed. We need to create a state so we can access this list in the UI. So let's go to the top. We can copy this state here. We can just change the name to events and set events. can also be null in the initial value. And then down here in our getEvents function, we'll just set the state, and set events with the events list we just got here. Now we need to call this function somewhere, so let's create another button. Just copy paste that, change the name to getEvents instead. We can also change the text to load feed. And now we would like to map through all the posts we get in this list. But first we need to check so events is not null, so we don't get that error again. So let's say events is not equal to null. Then we'd like to do something. And what would we like to do? We would like to take the events and then call a map function. And in here, for every entity in there, we'll get an event. And with that, we would like to basically just have a paragraph. I think that's the easiest thing we can do. And just take the content of every event, which basically is every post. We also need to give everything in the list a key, otherwise our browser will not like it. We can take the signature from every event, which is unique. And then maybe we can also add a little bit of styling so we see what's happening. Let's just add a border. So let's border style, and we can use reach. Maybe just a little bit of padding as well. Okay, so now we should generate, to pretty much print out the content of every post we get from this list. Let's save this, go back into browser, and just press our load feed. Misspelled. All right, so here we see all the latest posts from our relay we're connected to. Pretty nice. Okay, that was everything for this tutorial. I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you for watching it till then, and good luck with your Nostr project. Bye!